Hello there, and greetings. Greetings, fellow rune Vitkeys, fellow spiritual psychic friends, and seekers of the higher cosmic path. We're all on this beautiful journey together. It's Psychic Cynthia here, and today I am continuing just a bit more with my series I've been doing addressing the issue of ending the cycle of bad luck, or as I like to think of it, bringing in more good luck. And this is a rune-centered video. And I know that not everybody watching my channel or following me on Facebook works with the runes, but maybe you should be, especially if you are looking at transforming your luck. If you feel that you've been in a cycle of bad luck, or you've just been in a funk and you want to turn it around, or if you're interested in bringing in more positive vibes. The runes are a very powerful magical tool, very powerful, I would call them a spiritual technology, in addition to being a divination system. And this video today is not about reading on the runes, okay? It's about working with runes, really magically, but also in meditation, to help you amplify your good luck and break up, the cycle of bad luck. And I want to just talk a quick bit about specific runes that you could use. And actually, I want to make sure that those of you watching this know what I mean when I say the runes. I'm pretty sure most of you will. But the runes, that is spelled R-U-N-E-S. So if you're not familiar with the runes, you can go over to your favorite search engine and just type in the runes and learn more about this ancient alphabet, this ancient magical system. This has a northern base, or northern roots. It comes from the spiritual essence of the north, meaning, Scandinavian areas and so on, Germanic. But it doesn't really matter what your heritage is, I feel. The runes are a spiritual technology, and spiritual technologies are not owned by any one human or race. Contrary to what some people say, I challenge that idea that any one race or tribe can own a spiritual technology. Okay, I digress here. So these runes, they are the blueprints of creation, and many of us, including myself, read these runes in readings. But there's also ways that we work with them, and I learned to start reading with the runes many, many years ago, in my teens actually. But even more than reading on them, I enjoyed working with them, and just through simple methods, through meditation and visualization. And also, I had a little bit of an artistic bent back then, so I would do drawings with them, and where I'd repeat them, little intricate chalk drawings, or sometimes I would, I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't have a lot of materials, but I took an old towel and drew it on there with spray paint and things like that. So you can get creative with it. But in terms of, working a specific operation, in other words, you have an intention, and here we're talking about ending a cycle of bad luck and or bringing in good luck. You want to think about which of the specific 24 runes you're going to use. So where would I start with that? If, I was counseling a client who was having a cycle of bad luck. Well, first of all, I want to say it really depends on the client. Each person in each situation is unique. So I'm only going to be looking at sort of an all-purpose picture here, but your situation could be different. I want to say that. But one place where I might look to start with in terms of what I would call rune therapy here, rune therapy, I would recommend that you start with the ruse, which is rune number 2 in the Upper Fupa. For many, now it depends. When would I recommend this? Or what types of situations or cases? I would recommend this if you are having a cycle of bad luck and you are feeling drained, if your energies are low, and if you're feeling stuck or stagnant. Then the ruse is one of those runes, probably one of the best, that can help to unfetter your energy, that can help to break up stagnant energy. So in other words, it can help disrupt and interrupt the cycle. And that's the one that is shaped, well, like a U sort of, and an upside down U. And I'll see if I can put a picture of it in the video later. But again, that's number 2. And it is one of the runes of creation. Uruz is one of the, cattle type ones. Actually, it doesn't mean cattle, it means wild oxen. So it's that wild primal energy. It's a very wild energy. Now, I maybe wouldn't recommend that you meditate on this symbol for all situations. If you are a person who is in a cycle of bad luck, but you're overly impatient, you're very angry, you're extremely impulsive, and that has gotten you in this situation, then maybe Uruz wouldn't be the best. Or you might use Uruz together actually with one of the cooling or calming ones. You might even use Isa, which could seem contradictory because Isa is ice, and that's number 11, and that's easy to remember because it looks like an I or a 1. Isa is sometimes said to be a standstill, but you might need that to temper the energy of Uruz. You want to break up things, but you don't want to be overly impulsive. You don't want to be angry, and actually it's okay to be angry, I want to say, but you don't want to be like violent in your anger, okay? So use some discretion with these runes. Again, you have to kind of think of where you're at and feel into that. But Uruz could be used with Isa to calm that down a little bit, or it could even be used with Berkano to bring in new beginnings. So I'm jumping ahead here for those of you who work with the runes. Berkano is from the 3rd row of 8s. Berkano is, I don't have my chart here, but I believe it's going to be number 18. Isn't that right? Because it's the 2nd rune in the 3rd row. So Berkano is the birch mother rune. It's the rune of new beginnings and protection and that love of the mother. And I work with Berkano a lot. Berkano is sort of a totem for me. Working with the Berkano rune, it sort of looks like a sharp angular B, and again, I'm hoping I can put some of these runes in this video somewhere, either at the beginning or the end, or as we go. Berkano can help to enhance and create that buffer. I talk about one of my other videos, this idea that I have that we all can have sort of a buffer in our auras or energy fields that helps to protect from quote-unquote bad luck or unfortunate experiences happening, but it also increases resiliency so that even when so-called bad luck, so-called unfortunate things happen, you're better able to pivot and come up out of that still good. Okay, it's kind of like an immune system if you want to think of it that way. So I find that Berkano can enhance one's natural luck buffer, bad luck buffer, because it's the protection of the divine feminine, the goddess, the mother, And there is no more powerful protective force in the universe than that of the mother, not even Thor, okay? And if you've ever been a mother or seen a mother in any species when her babies or cubs are threatened, you understand what I mean. So the mother does protect, but she can also help calm if needed. So, again, if you want to work with Uruz, and I do think you should, okay, most of you should. You want to work with Uruz if you're having a cycle of bad luck, because that helps to raise your energy levels, and particularly if you're feeling drained, if your health is not good, that can help to increase your health and vitality. But then Uruz also has this sort of reckless, headstrong, it's a very yang energy. So what I'm saying is if you have excessive yang already, then you may need to balance that with some Berkano. So just some thoughts on that. Or you could use Isa. Now Isa is an interesting rune because it's not one we associate with good luck, but it may be one that some of you need if it's an issue for you to know yourself. Like, in other words, if you feel like you don't know yourself or your path, you might utilize Isa for that. I don't know if that is a quick solution to breaking up a cycle of bad luck, but it could be a good long-term solution. If you're really bold, you could invoke the forces of Hagelites. Hagelites has different forms, but it often is depicted, looks like sort of an H with a diagonal. And many people that read runes or work with runes are a little bit afraid of Hagelites because it is the rune of disruption. It can be the rune of emergency. It's not an easy energy. So I don't recommend this for everybody. Then again, I don't recommend any of these for everybody. Remember, each person is unique. But what I'm saying is it takes a certain kind of person. And if it's not you, it's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means it's not for you. But Hagelites is for that person who is willing and ready to transform now, who is ready to do the work, who is ready to go to the hardships if necessary to go through that, and kind of wants to just get it all done with quickly. And I've been that person many times in my life. I don't recommend it at all times though. And it's better for those who maybe you have a cycle of bad luck, but your health and vitality is still strong. Then I think Hagelites might be okay. Hagelites can bring on a healing crisis. It will. If you work with Hagelites, and I wouldn't do it for long periods of time. So, maybe with any of these, I wouldn't do it for a long period of time at first, especially if you're not used to working with the runes. And just to clarify here, what I mean by working with the runes, for the purpose of this instruction, we're just talking about simple, basic working with them. Really, a better way to phrase it would be opening your heart to their energy. It's a rune therapy, remember? So I think for most people who are not magically trained or runically trained, the easiest way to do that is either to softly chant the name of the rune, and you can chant it as close as you can in, one of these ancient languages. These runes have different names, okay? So just do the best you can on the pronunciation. And some people get really big into you have to pronounce it this way. But here's the thing. The pronunciation is different even in Scandinavia and in the north, depending on which language is spoken. Obviously the names and the pronunciation, in German are going to be different than Norwegian or Old Norse, which isn't really a spoken language, I think, much anymore. But Swedish, it's all different languages, so they're going to have different sounds. And the runes understand, if, like they understand I'm an English speaker. I do try to, speak it close to either an Icelandic or Norwegian or even an Old Norse sound or Germanic. For me, I feel like that gets me a little bit closer to the roots. But, honestly, even if you just have an idea that you associate with the rune, like a ruse is associated for some people with health. If you think that word health, while you visualize the symbol, it will do something for you, okay? It will. I think it will do more, though, if you can say ruse, Hagal, Hagalaz, or Isa. Okay, at least it does something more for me. Maybe that's just the way it works for me, though. Try it and see. Don't get too hung up on trying to be super Mr. or Mrs. pronunciation, because unless you are a native speaker of Old Norse, Icelandic, Old Germanic, all of these different languages, you're probably not going to get it just like them, okay? So don't get too hung up on that, but do try to get the basic sounds. I think getting the vowel sounds are important, and my research has shown me, at least what I understand now, that at least in the Old Norse, it seems like most of the vowels are comparable to Spanish. So if any of you are familiar with Spanish or speak Spanish, that makes it easier. Like Isa is spelled I-S-A, number 11. Isa, right? Isn't that how, a Spanish speaker might say it? Well, with a more lovelier accent, of course. But you get what I'm saying. So you can softly chant the name. And I do put the emphasis on the soft, especially if you're doing rune therapy. I don't think you necessarily need to be chanting at the top of your lungs. If you're trying to heal your bad luck, basically, you don't have to exert extra energy yelling, okay? If it feels good, fine, okay? But I think that it can be just as effective. For me, it's just as effective to softly chant the name of the rune. And it could just be 5 times. It could be 10 times. You don't need to do it 100, and I don't think you should. You could do it 5 times, a few times a day if you wanted. That almost could be too much, depending on your familiarity with these energies. So just start with 3 to 5 times. See how that feels, let that settle into your body. And, then if you want to do more later in the day, you can, all right, or in the evening. And you might start doing it, you could do it in the evening to supercharge your day, or in the morning to supercharge your day, but you might actually find it more effective to do it at night before you go to bed. And then that way the energy is plugged into your etheric bodies to help you start the next day, okay? And then, of course, even if you're not chanting the names, you can just visualize the symbol in your mind. Meditate on it, in other words. And you don't have to hold it for like 20 minutes. I think 1 to 3 minutes, which is a lot harder than it sounds. So 30 seconds if that's all you have to start with. But 1 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of thinking about the rune, meditating on it. It would help if you draw it out on a piece of paper or on a card, or you have your rune cards, or you have your runes, right? You look at it, or you have it on your phone. I mean, I don't bring phones and tech into my meditations currently. Just because I was trained old school. I mean, I didn't even listen to meditation music for the first few years of my training. So, not to say that meditation music is bad. It's great. I love it. Now it's so much easier to get there. But you might want to keep it low tech so that you're focused on the visualization of the rune and not the tech device. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if you're actually trying to turn your luck around, that's what I would do. So, to summarize here, I've just talked about maybe 3 runes. Let me see. I've talked about Uruz, number 3, Hagelites, which is number, I don't know if I said that, but that's going to be number 9 in the Elder Futhark order. And then Berkana, the Birch Rune, which is number 18. These are few runes. Oh, and also number 11, Isa. One of the runes that's considered a rune of general good luck is number 1, Behu. It's a rune of abundance, but it's also a rune that can help you identify with and strengthen your Haminya. Haminya is like some people think of it as a spirit guide energy, but it's more than that. It's your vitality. It is your luck, okay? So you can work with that rune, and actually you could work with that rune more often than some of these other ones. It's more gentle. If things are really bad, okay? I mean, if you need like a miracle and you need things to flip around fast, or maybe even if you don't, try working with, it's either number 23 or 24, depending on the system you use. But that would be Dagaz. That would be Day. That is a rune of reversals. It's also the rune of walking in the light of the gods. But only do that if you're really ready. If you're ready to get out of this funk. Because sometimes we get stuck in a cycle of bad luck because we're not wanting to go on right now. Because that bad luck is doing something for us. Because it's often keeping us from dealing with something else that is just too painful, too uncomfortable for you to look at right now. I mean, like for example, if you have a lot of bad health problems, then you don't have to deal with your childhood or family issues, right? You can just say, oh, I don't have to deal with that because I'm focused on this health and healing. And that's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think having the awareness that's what's going on can be very empowering, And then maybe you could find another way to, deal with those family problems without getting sick, okay? Or, money problems. Like if you have money problems, then it's real easy to say no to things like, oh, I can't do that, or to say no to your family, or to say, maybe you're going to say, I'm not going to do this thing, like I'm not going to go back to school. Okay, somebody watching. I'm not going to go back to school, or I'm not going to take this trip, or I'm not going to pursue this path because I don't have enough money. Usually that's what it is. I've learned this myself in the past. When I said, well, I don't have enough money to do this, it's because I wasn't really ready yet, or because I was afraid to do that thing. Now, granted, maybe I really didn't have enough money, and it doesn't mean you should just be unwise and go into debt, like extreme debt, to do something. But realize when your problems, this so-called bad luck, realize when they might actually be a manifestation of you're just not ready yet to look at something else. I mean, just that tidbit alone, without the runes, will help you turn some things around. Alrighty, well, until next time, I'm just hoping that this is helpful for you and that you learned a little something that you can utilize in your day-to-day life to break up any negative energy and to welcome that beautiful, brilliant light of positive happiness. Until next time, I'm Psychic Cynthia, wishing you much love and rune blessings.